My name is Amy Clark, and I'm a renegade.
On this episode of the RUNEGADE Podcast, Amy Clark, editor-in-chief of UltraRunning Magazine, mom, and a dedicated ultra runner. Amy's journey kicked off with lunch break runs in Bend, Oregon, progressing from marathons to her first ultra, the McDonald Forest 50K, where gritty trails and the ultra community won her heart. Since then, she's crushed races like Western States 100, all the while raising twins. As editor since 2018, Amy's molded UltraRunning Magazine into the pulse of the sport, delivering race recaps, training insights, and stories that fuel runners. It's the go-to for ultra inspiration. Let's dive into Amy's story, from Amy's running journey to which columnist is closest to the cutoffs, and how UltraRunning Magazine has remained relevant to the sport after all these years. It's a sneak peek into the behind the scenes of all the excellent work Amy and the team at UltraRunning Magazine does every day to bring us the goods. So sit back, lean in, and enjoy. Welcome to the RUNEGADE Podcast. I'm Todd Marentette, and with me
is Mr. Runklemark,
your two most favorite beta hosts in the world.
Beta hosts.
Bringing you another episode of the RUNEGADE Podcast, where we explore that human connection that we have with running, endurance sport, and maybe the mysterious world of mystery and suspense.
Right. The little known. We explore the depths of ultra running and the mind.
Well, and we got to call special attention out to our friends of the podcast, our first friend of the podcast, Path Projects. They make the best performance and running apparel, trail running apparel. Looks great on the streets, great on the trails. And Runkle Mark's got his Path Projects on too.
I know, it's so nice on my skin. So good. We also have to give a shout out to our friends over at Prociw. These things are just so awesome. They look so, you can see them behind me right now, right?
Yes.
They are just, they grip, they run, they're light. I feel more nimble. How about you, Todd?
You know what?
Do you feel nimble?
What was my most famous question so far in 2 years? Why is the foot so important?
That's right.
Well, we have the shoe that makes the foot important, makes it strong. That's Prociw. What I like about it, you get that independent toe suspension. It's like 5 wishbone suspensions. I don't know if that makes sense, but I don't know. It wakes the feet up.
You know what? And the feet have been left behind for so many years, and if anything, it draws attention to them. So I've seen people at work looking at your tender tootsies there, and just really giving the appreciation to those toes. So you know what? Good on you, Todd.
Well, if you're that person who does not care what other people think about you, and you prioritize yourself, your health, you can't overlook the feet. And yeah, you get a little bit of strange looks every now and then, but they look good. And this week, I've been wearing my Strand Sport Mesh. It's a hot blue, light, toes fit in, so comfortable. And you know what? It was matching my golf shirts I was wearing, so I looked extra special.
And you know what? I know you said earlier if you don't care what people think, but it's not about that. Just imagine how many heads were turned when the Model T came out. Those people riding horses were just like, what is that person doing? What kind of wizardry is that? And that's exactly what Prociw is. Prociw is wizardry for your toes.
Wizardry? Is that a word? It's usually me making up the words there, Runkle.
Starting today, wizardry is a word patented. Well, pending.
Whether you have your casual Prociws on in black, brown, or blue, there's always an athletic brew for you.
Oh, look at that one. Clink. I'm impressed by that. I was kind of mulling over a couple in my mind. Mine was when you're out running the McDonald Forest 50K, give yourself an athletic brew, hazy IPA.
Hey now. And we have a great guest for you tonight, Amy Clark. the editor-in-chief of the UltraRunning Magazine, is joining the podcast. She's going to become a friend of the podcast.
How did we get her? How did we get her?
I don't know. I asked, and she said yes, like everybody else.
That is the message in life to everyone here on the podcast. It's just ask and you shall receive. All these rock stars. It's wonderful.
Yes.
What a resource. So certainly very excited to have Amy on. This is going to be
great. And if you like what you hear, give us a like, comment, subscribe on our YouTube, our Facebook group, or drop us a line. RUNEGADE Podcast@gmail.com. We will be more than happy not to get back to you, and also take offense to any jabs you send our way. We're your two beta hosts.
It's true. That's one of the latest. So thank you, Not Tito, for it. So we actually have some comments coming in from people that aren't Tito, but hey, if anything, it fuels us to. It's like our little gels to run a little bit further. So we're gonna keep at it, work on our radio voices, and who knows?
Amy, we are so happy that you joined us. We read all the magazines. We've been following ultra running for many years, and a lot of our great guests that we've had on over the last 2 years as a result from articles that we've read in UltraRunning Magazine. So you wrote, not yourself, but the magazine had a great article about Becky Bates, and she's from British Columbia. So we reached out to her, and she was on our podcast, first podcast she's ever on. And it was funny because it was all the big Canadian accent that came through, because normally we're interviewing Americans, and that was like our first kind of Canadian Anna experience. That was fun, but it came from the UltraRunning Magazine.
The magazine, that's great. Yeah, Becky deserves all the love. She's amazing. Yeah, that's great.
Amy Clark's with us tonight, the editor-in-chief of UltraRunning Magazine. What I love about UltraRunning Magazine, it's old school. I love magazines. Today, social media, everything on the internet, it just doesn't feel the same as having a magazine in your hand. And I've been reading this for years. And you know what? Amy, maybe we can start and introduce yourself and your running journey to the Renegade audience. How did you get into running? And then how did you get into UltraRunning Magazine?
Well, thanks for having me. It's funny because every time I'm interviewed, and it's not very often, but I always think about, like, where did I start? And I started running when I was a kid because my dad was running marathons. And then he wanted me to play basketball, but I was like, I'd rather run. So I think it was about age 12, I was 12 and he was running the Boston Marathon. And I was like, that's really cool. Kind of stuck in the back of my head. And I think I was 26 when I ran my first marathon. So I ran cross country in high school, a little bit in college, was doing races and stuff, and then ran my first marathon in 2002. And then 2008, I ran Boston. It was actually 20 years to the year my dad ran it. And then had kids. I was like, okay, I need something new. This isn't doing it for me, running marathons. Because I went back and ran a few, and I found this race called McDonald Forest 50K in Oregon. And man, I tell you, it was a experience like I've never had before. And it was amazing. And it was so much fun. It was dirty. It was muddy. It was hilly. It was really hilly. And so, yeah, that's where I got to ultra running. UltraRunning Magazine came about a year later when a friend of mine was actually helping Carl Hoagland, who was the publisher at the time, with the website. And so he brought me on as a freelance writer, and the rest is kind of history. So
it's amazing. So I can only imagine, you said a 20-year difference from when your dad ran the Boston to when you did. What were some of those nuggets of information that your dad gave you when you were training and prepping for Boston? There must have been some like nuanced, information or tips that he was trying to pass down. And were they relevant at that point in time?
Right. Yeah, actually, I mean, he was really just my sounding board, for training. And the one piece that I took from him was, the training is the journey, the celebration is the actual marathon. And so you're just, it's really, once all that training's in the bag, you really just celebrate by running the marathon. And that was that. So, yeah.
That's sound advice. Like, the hard work, that's the old adage, the hard work was the training. Yeah, the marathon day itself, go have fun, relax a little bit, unless you're like trying to break 2 hours or something like that. And
Right.
most of us, not even close.
Yeah. Well, when you have to qualify for Boston, it's a hard journey to get to
Absolutely.
that qualifying time. And it was difficult, but once I got there, I was like, okay, now we can sit back and enjoy.
And you know what, Todd? Like, this is actually the real reason why I didn't show up for the beer mile, is because I didn't feel I put in the proper training to show up and celebrate. So, yeah, that was my first race that I signed up for that I did not show up for. So,
Well, I think you can take a little bit what Amy is just saying here is you can bypass all this half marathon and marathon stuff on the road and head right for the trails, Mark, right to a nice 50K. And Mark would love the aid stations. I could just see him missing the cutoffs because he'd be hanging out too much at the aid stations.
pretzels.
Pretzel.
I mean, I'm
No,
sure there's been
M&Ms.
some amazing food that you've seen there over the years. I'll get into that a bit later on, but
Uh-huh. I've actually had beer too during races. So, and I know it's not unheard of.
so beer? You've had beer on like
Mhm.
okay. I'd
On the
imagine
course.
that'd be like really bubbly like afterwards when you're no.
It was honestly, it was like my stomach is really messing with me, so I'm gonna try anything. And they were like, "Hey, have the beer." And I was like, "Okay."
Yeah, like if you
Didn't help much,
I
but
was gonna say, did it work? Was that like the
no,
miracle
no,
cure? Or
no.
yeah, when the stomach is starting to bother you, just load it up with beer. You're gonna say you're complaining. Just wait a second, I'll make you complain.
it's gotten me
Right,
this far
right.
in life. So I mean, that was before I started running. So I'm just kidding.
Well, what was it, Amy, about the marathon to the trails? Like, what was the first allure to go to the trails? And then what's kept you on the trail running?
I I'm trying to think. It was it's really hard to get back into marathoning and you're jumping back on the roads. There's just something, that's missing, I guess from whatever, because I had started to do like trail half marathons at that point. And I think that I started to kind of hear about this ultra running on the trails thing and listening to, Ultra Runner Podcast and Trail Runner Nation. And I was like, well, this kind of sounds like fun. So let's see what it's all about. Right. So it was curiosity, really. And I had friends that had run it. So, yeah.
And it's definitely a curious journey of trail running. And once you catch the bug, there's nothing better than spending time on the trails. That's for sure. It is a different vibe. Like the road running. So I still run a few marathons, not well, but I try. And it's just a different vibe. Like when main ultras that I've done was the JFK 50 two times. I love it. I love the aid stations. They run a good outfit, and I know I don't want to run more than 12 hours. So I can't. The 100 mile people are like, you're gonna run 100 miles. I'm like, unless I can get it done in 12 hours, which is no possible way. Yeah, I'll stick with the 50. It's okay.
That's amazing. So when you're training for something like so I guess first of all, how many times have you ran McDonald Forest?
I ran it once.
Okay.
And then I went back to do it a few years ago, and I realized so they change the course every year. And shout out to Andrew Miller, who is one of our columnists. He's a coach. He is a brutal course maker. I mean, he's out on the trails volunteering. I mean, he makes trails, he clears trails. He's awesome on the trails. But man, oh man, he changed that course from when we were running up forest roads the first time I did it. This time we were legit running straight up mountainsides, and it was a single track, and so it was quite different. And I was like, you know what? 6.5 hours. I've got 10 miles to go. I'm done. So I didn't finish it that time.
Is it common? Like how often does the actual path change for something
Oh,
like
for that
that?
race, a
Yeah.
lot.
Oh,
Yeah.
it does. Okay.
So it's actually run for Oregon State University has a forestry school, and they have a piece of uh, I think they manage this part of the forest. It's an arboretum. It's that area. So it's managed by Oregon State University, and they have just wild trails that, yeah. I mean, it's the coolest place to run ever. I mean, it's, covered in huge firs, and there's mud everywhere when it gets wet. And yeah, it's a really cool place.
So, like from the point that when you were running it for the first time to years and years later, where you've ran many ultras since, is there any kind of advice that you would have told yourself, like your rookie noob self, just to kind of get you through that first run? Any kind of tips or anything that you realized afterwards from just life experience that would have helped you out on that very first day?
You know, this is the beginning of a wonderful adventure. And this is, one race that is completely different from the next 50K. And each one is special in its own way. So just enjoy it. Yeah. So,
Well, then venturing off the trails into the office, into the life of putting together a magazine, I can't even imagine all the fun that you have to go through every day, month, year to get these articles identified, find the article writers, authors, photographs. Walk us through a day in the life of UltraRunning Magazine.
day in the life. I am incredibly lucky to have gotten this position. I guess it was 6.5 years ago. It, it's led me to some amazing places, and I don't know if um, I'd be here today without it's just been such a great experience and amazing people. And it's taken me to places I never thought I'd be, travel, races. Yeah, it's just been a spectacular journey so far. And we were just acquired by Aravaipa Running and Jamil Curry, I should say, Steep Life Media. And so I'm excited for what's to come, because it's changing, as you guys know. Things are evolving in the ultra running world. But my days are from waking up to going to bed. I'm usually at the computer. I'll leave and then I'll come back, and I'm always constantly, emailing or editing or posting or doing whatever. So yeah, that's kind of my my day. I work from home because we're all remote. So I'm shuttling my kids to school or picking them up or going for a run or in between all the work. So yeah.
Did you ever think that running was going to be a pathway to a career? Like if it wasn't running, what do you think you'd be doing?
I started in advertising. So I was at an agency for 10 and a half years, and I loved it. I learned a ton about the creative industry, and marketing and branding. But I always kind of was drawn to the outdoors and running. I ran on my lunch hour every day. If you would have told my prior self that I was going to be the editor of a magazine, I would have been like, whatever, no way. So, because I had a gig for a while writing for Outside, which at the time was Outside Online, but it was Outside Magazine, and I was a columnist for them, and it felt kind of like a one-off thing, but it evolved. So, yeah, it's crazy where you end up. Had no idea.
Well, that's it. And then just, from running different races and interacting with different folks, you get inspiration for different ideas. Do they just come naturally to you? Does it take a lot of time to determine what you're going to write next? Or is there, I guess, feedback from folks out there that are like, hey, I want to see something about this? Like what's your creative process?
Yeah. Well, so I'm not, I write a column every month, but I kind of have to oversee the whole magazine and what content goes in. And that's more of a concern for me, just so I know that everything is relevant. It's not repetitive. It's going to be informative to our readers. It's going to be inspirational to our readers. And so a lot of it just comes together like kind of like magic, because I have amazing columnists, like Ellie Greenwood and Jason Coop and Dean Karnassus, and people who have been with us for a long time, plus new people like Max King and Stephanie Howe and Kelly Newland, who are our nutrition kind of columnists. But they come up with these amazing columns that have these relevant topics because they're embedded in the sport and they know what to write about. And it's just really, I'm just honored to work with such amazing people. Same with the photographers. The photographers make our magazine what it is on the visual side of things. So yeah.
It's beautiful photography, amazing columns and articles you're bang on. When you started talking about all the talent, all the columnists, I couldn't help but think, who's the one? Maybe you can't answer this. Maybe off the air. Who's close to the cutoffs all the time? Like, come on, Dean, you gotta get that. You gotta. No, I would say Dean is probably not, because he's probably closer to the front.
He's pretty good. Yeah, no, actually, most of them are very. They're very well. They're kind of well versed in the whole process, and so they know if they're going to be late. They let me know, and I'm not going to drop any names because everybody's really good about it.
Okay. No, for sure. Well, when 6.5 years at UltraRunning Magazine, how have you seen those 6.5 years change? And then when you think of, the lifespan of UltraRunning Magazine, how has it changed? Like if you juxtapose and compare the contrast, like those two time horizons from inception until the last few years where everything has seemed to be changing. But then there's a nostalgia to go back to what folks love. What do you think? What are your thoughts about that?
It's hard because, I was just thinking about I'll just give you an example. My first time at Western States when I went in 2016. So I started writing for the magazine in 2015 and became editor in 2018. But I got to go to Western States in 2016 for the first time. And I walked up to this place I'd only seen photos of, which was packet pickup race start area. And I was like, wow, this is small. Like, this is just tiny. Like I envisioned this to be this huge thing, and it wasn't as big as I knew, as I thought. And with the magazine, when I was working with Carl and you look back to previous issues and the evolution of the black and white to the color to, race reports and how we've changed it over the years, even since I've been editor, has a lot to do with, I think, the availability of writers, of columnists, the interest of everyone who is reading and also contributing. And I think that seeing the, kind of the shutdown of Trail Runner magazine and all the print that has just been reduced to very small, publications. I think that we've really kind of tried to take what we love about the sport and about the magazine and kind of really condense it. But while trying to educate our readers and inspire them to keep in the sport of ultra running. So it's really been an honor to kind of witness the, changes throughout the years of the magazine, because I can't tell you how proud I am of what we put out every month, because it's really a lot of work and a lot of, effort on our team's behalf, and what we produce is, I hope our readers appreciate it and love it. So.
Oh, absolutely. I know they do. And one of the things about the magazine is like the review of technology and, apparel, things like that. Has there been something that you've, I guess, reviewed that was really, really hyped up at one point in time, but then when you tried it, you're kind of like, it's not really all it's cracked up to be. I don't really see, I'm not, kind of, feeling it what everyone else is feeling. Is there anything that kind of stands out in your mind? Something that you're like, this is just not as excellent as I thought it was going to be?
I had, well, when I came on as editor, Carl was really excited about the power meters. And I was like, I just don't know what this is, and I'm not feeling it, so I'm not going to pursue it. Sorry, but as editor, I feel like this isn't something that we need to, push too hard, because I don't even know what this is. And it ended up not being a thing. So at least that I'm aware of.
Just
power
like
meter.
a blip in time, right?
Yeah, blip in time. Yeah, I've had a few other things that haven't really come to fruition as far as their functionality. But yeah, that was kind of my one thing when I came on. I was like, sorry, Carl, I can't do this.
I'm so with you, Amy. Like when they started putting power meters and stuff in Strava and all this stuff, and it's like, well, I spent the last few years just getting used to pace and maybe relative effort, how you're feeling. Then it's like, I'm done. I'm not trying to figure out a new metric where I'm like,
Right.
300 watts means this. I'm like, who cares? Like, who doesn't even know?
Yeah.
And then, like, the more you kind of dig into it and the more you get to interview some really great people, the best in the world don't even like pay attention to that. And it's like, maybe it's the back of the Packers like me that spend way too much time worried about the stuff that doesn't make any sense and doesn't have any impact. And then you ignore the bigger picture on it.
Okay.
And I'm definitely not a tech person at all.
Well, that was kind of going to be my next question. Like the inverse of that, is there something that you found that people were just kind of like, it's okay. And you're like, no, why are more people not using this? This is the greatest thing ever.
I actually, no, I don't. I test so many shoes, and I'm so like tried and true to my my few that I love. And yeah, I think everybody's just so different when it comes to their comfort.
Yeah.
When I found my first hydration pack, because I used to use handhelds and I hated them. And I put on my first hydration pack and I was like, oh my God, I'm in love. It's so wonderful.
You found it.
They are wonderful. You can bring everything with you. It's fantastic.
Yeah. And you don't have to use your hands. You can just, So that was my one, and that was years ago before I ran my first ultra. But yeah, that's what I love.
That's great. And what shoes are your go-to these days?
Well, I test shoes, so I wear all different kinds.
Yeah.
So I get to, but I'm always, at least I guess it's year to year. And I just got a new pair today. I'm so excited to try them.
Nice.
The Brooks Cascadias.
New shoe day.
Yeah.
Brooks Cascadias, that's fantastic. Yeah, you probably get all these great shoes you get to test and always mix them up. And I don't know, that's the fun thing about shoes is you always find the ones that you love and you gravitate back towards that. But it's also fun to dabble and try some new ones. We've been testing out some Paluvas with the toes. They're fun. Like the Paluvas, and Mark had a couple, so we had Mark Sisson on and he was talking to us. Ooh, and actually Dr. Mark Kugazella told us about this. We talked to him last summer. He's like, you guys got to check out these shoes for work. It wasn't for running. And then the universe conspired, and yeah, we've been wearing them and they're fun.
Yeah, these are the work ones.
They're like 5 fingers. Yeah, they're like Vibram 5 fingers. Wow.
So you get some good looks. Like Mark and I work together in the office and we walk around with them on and people are like, what's on your feet? It's weird how like people notice right away that your foot doesn't look like a shoe, and they catch it right away and their eyes go like, what happened? And I'm like, it's okay. It's just feet.
Yet
all
when
the have their own little garage.
I know, but when somebody wears gloves versus mittens, nobody thinks twice about it. But why is it different with the foot?
That's true.
Why is the foot so important, Todd?
Oh, geez, I'll never live that down. Dr. Mark Kugazella, I think it was our second episode. Dr. Mark's our friend and graciously came on before we even had like an audience or anything like that. And then I asked him, why is the foot so important? And he answered, and that's not what I meant to ask. But
it's a great question with a great answer.
You get nervous, well,
everything that comes from Dr. Mark is great.
Yeah, we love Dr. Mark.
That's awesome.
Hey, Renegades, we have something exciting to share with you today, and it's all about revolutionizing the way we think about footwear. Enter Paluva, a brand that's setting new standards in the world of shoes. What makes Paluva unique? It's their commitment to foot health, with a design that mimics the natural movement of your feet. We're talking about shoes that give your toes the freedom to move independently, enhancing your balance and strength with every step. Plus, they blend this with style. Check out Paluva if you're ready to walk, run, or just stand in a way that your body will thank you for. This isn't just a shoe, it's an upgrade to your daily life. Give your feet the comfort and style they deserve with Paluva. And as a special offer, you can use the code RUNEGADE for 15% off your order. That's RUNEGADE, and you'll get 15% off your order. Check them out at paluva.com. Your feet will thank you. Do you have a feeling of what articles work, which ones don't? Or actually, how do you find that out?
That's a good question. I do have a feel, because I do keep up on what's going on in the world of ultra running, the sport, who's putting out what. You know, we are a very small sport still, and there are a lot of people trying to cover a lot of there are a lot of people trying to cover a few topics, and you can only cover one person or a race so many ways, right? And so it gets to be a little suffocating, from my perspective, it gets to be a little suffocating because it's just the same thing, regurgitated over and over. So what we try to do, and this is kind of the history and based on the history of our magazine, but we try to cover people and stories and races that aren't always covered. And I look for the special stories and the special articles. I just got one in actually from the UK recently, and we're going to actually publish it in the next issue. And it's about a unique race. I'm not going to spoil it. But the writer said, nobody's picking up on this race. So I'm sending it to you. Were you interested? And I said, definitely. Because it's a fascinating race. It's in the UK, and it's, some might call it the Barkley of the UK, but it's definitely completely different. It's interesting. So yeah, so we just what I try to do is I try to gauge the interest, the writing, the story, and how it fits with the issue. So yeah, it's
I like what you were
magical.
saying there, because I'm with you. When I open up the issue, and I think it was probably maybe last March or February on vacation, and I think I was going back in an issue, and it was like your ultra runners of the year, and I was just going through like all the categories you had, and my eyes didn't look at the top because we hear about them on the podcast and everything, and I just started going to like the middle, and then I started seeing some really interesting names, and that's where like I saw Liza, and then later on Becky, and the stories like that. Like what I found really amazing, it's a couple themes that we talk about in ultra running, is these amazing performances that are happening at the front of the pack, but also with older runners. And I always love that kind of stuff because we're aging and want to understand, like, what are they tapping into? And it's just so interesting, like those really cool stories where people find running late in life, and then they're doing amazing things. And I'm with you. I like finding those nuggets and stories, and they're always in every issue as these really cool topics.
Absolutely. Yeah. No, I actually was just at a race this last weekend volunteering, and talked to a woman at the aid station who was 67, and she's like, I'm going down to do the Cocodona. And I was like, whoa, wait, what? And she's doing one of the shorter races, not the 250, but she's like, I'm finding the races I can do that have the longer cutoff so I can finish. But I'm still doing it. So I was like,
wow.
that's why.
Well,
that's what I love.
That can also be the tough thing about ultra running is you're going to cover a race and you're covering a 250-mile race. You're down there for a week and a bit, paying attention and keeping track of it. But yeah, Cocodona, I think it's Arizona. It's a 250-mile race.
Sounds hot.
And it sounds hot. It sounds far too. 250 miles.
Yeah, the heat's been turned up, I think, already down there. So I think they're in the 90s already.
It's so much fun running in Arizona. We used to travel down there for March breaks and whatnot, and just outside the Superstition Mountains area. I got lost in the mountains a couple times. I thought I was going to die because I ran out of water, but no, I survived. Or maybe I didn't. I don't know.
Actually, the ghost of Todd.
Maybe that's everything. Yeah, that makes sense now.
Yeah, making me thirsty.
I can see dead people, isn't that Bruce Willis?
That's right. So with covering so many races and experience, running many races, and you're a former race director as well, right? So how did you take all the pieces of everything that you learned to, really enhance these races, choose, whether it's the pathway or place of aid station, maybe do you actually get to choose what's at each of the aid stations too as well, like what's being served? Like how did all of this experience and exposure feed into your plans when you're a race director?
Oh, I was a race director for, it was a 10K. So it wasn't like a long race.
Okay, fair enough. That's okay.
So, it was
more
already
my
kind of
speed right
set.
there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There could be a lot of stressy people, though. A lot of stressy people in 10Ks. They got to try to break 40 minutes or 50 minutes or something.
True. It was all downhill. It was all downhill. It was the oldest
that.
10K in Bend where I live. And so, yeah, we had, it is fun though, because like I incorporated, my husband does woodworking. And so he made the trophies for the winners and stuff like that. So, I tried to bring that stuff into even the magazine. This weekend I was out at, it's called the Peterson Ridge Rumble. I'm going to throw it out there because it's one of our old school races, which we have a series of them every year. And I've run it multiple times. I don't know. It's been at least maybe 10. I'm almost 10. And since 2004, they have a 20 mile and a 40 mile. And I was out there and we just brought some, UltraRunning Magazine swag for the very last finisher, the DFL of the 40 mile, because that's what we're doing for all of our old school races. So we gave them some swag from the UR vault. Yeah.
That's awesome.
So just little touches like that. It's always fun, I think, and special to recognize runners in unique ways. I think it makes the race that much more special.
Well, and I love that you said that your husband carved trophies because.
Well, he didn't carve them.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
He made them out of wood, but they were not carved.
Oh.
So he did not like whittle them.
In my mind, I kind of went.
We're going to still count it. We're going to still count it as carving.
Will ever have the same trophy that person has. But still, that's so unique and that's so awesome. That's great.
This was something that Mark and I were talking about at lunch today. Have you ever come across a trail run or done an article about a trail runner race where you run with dogs?
Yeah, and so that's one of them. So
that's one of them. Okay.
So I was out there. There was probably 200 runners total, and dogs are allowed, so they get to run with their person, their human, and then they get like a pig's ear at the finish.
This is okay. I think this is the one I was telling you about, the pig ear, and the dogs come back year over year, and they know the pig ear is waiting for them, and they know the course.
Yeah.
Oh,
it's great.
This is the Peterson Ridge Rumble. We got to go check this out.
Correct. Yeah, it's in Sisters, Oregon. Yeah.
Okay, so Todd, you'll get the medal, and I'll get the pig's ear. Okay, we'll run it in tandem.
They get socks. There's no medals. It's all everybody gets a pair of socks.
A pair of socks. Oh.
Some socks. Yep.
That'd be wild. I could just imagine some of the chaos on the trails if your dog's not a little bit well behaved. But I'm sure these trail dogs are well behaved.
Well, I've been in past years when I've been running, it was a little too chaotic with the dogs. They were all over the place, and you just start to go, okay, you're not my dog. I'm just gonna keep running because I'm like, wait, don't go that way.
Yeah, and the trail etiquette too of not leaving anything behind on the trail for the next person. I mean, there must be a.
Does that apply to dogs? I don't know. I don't think.
I'm sure you're in nature. You don't have to stop and scoop it up, right?
Well, so. I honestly think that most of the trail runners that are out there with their dogs are pretty used to picking up the the stuff.
They've got their method. They've got their method. Not to lose time.
Yeah.
Well, my mind immediately goes to we had an episode with Dr. Meldrum, from the University of Idaho, the Bigfoot footprint researcher, and
world famous.
Okay.
And he was talking about he collects footprints. He doesn't collect them. People send him footprints, but people also send him Bigfoot excrement. And he's like, stop sending me the Bigfoot excrement, because I guess there's nothing useful in excrement that they can figure out. Because I would have thought it's full of DNA, but obviously it's not. It's DNA of whatever you just eat.
Stuff.
Yeah.
And I think many times it's like bear scat anyway. So it's like,
right.
So it's like, is somebody actually truly sending it for scientific purposes, or are they just sending it to mess with them? And especially like something like that, you can't just let that sit in your mailbox for a while either, right? So,
right.
Well, in Oregon, have you ever come across a Bigfoot sighting out there in the mountains? And
no. That was my next question as well. Yeah.
I've worked for the Forest Service in past years, way back in my college days, and never had any kind of large furry things. So, yeah.
That's good.
Sasquatch, you're still a mystery.
I know it is.
I don't know what he or she's doing, but it's working well for them, right? We just
Yes.
only very few videos, and even them people are somewhat skeptical of.
Yeah, the elusive trail runner. They kind of like just run on their own. They don't want to be, but
Yeah.
they could get some ultra running swag if they come in, last.
I know, right?
Or at least a pig ear.
Or a pig ear, yeah.
Or a figure.
Well, when you think about the last few years in ultra running, what's perked your interest? Like, what kind of draws your attention to the ultra running scene? Like, what's one or two things that's really surprised you over the last couple of years?
Oh, Todd, I'm so embedded in the whole thing. It's, I think it's really hard to say if there's one in particular thing that makes, the live streaming has been a blessing and kind of a curse, just because you get to sit down at your computer on a Saturday morning and watch all these people running. And it's so great to see the action live, even if it is grainy and kind of broken and whatever, it's still there. You can just sit down and watch people running, and I think it's inspiring. I think you're inspired because these people are out there doing it and you're watching them. And, I want to go out and run now because I'm watching these people push themselves all day long. And then you get to watch, big races like Western States and see more behind the scenes stuff. But honestly, it truly is. And this is where I always come back to. It's the stories that I hear from people who are, in their 60s and 70s, breaking records. And I will never be able to forget the two finishes, Gunhild Swanson, from 2015, I believe, at Western States, where she finished with like 6 seconds on the clock, like before the cutoff. And then Karen Bonet and Taraj, who finished in 2017 with just seconds to spare. I can't remember what her time was, but it's just those. I mean, and I've been at the golden hour at Western States multiple times, and it's just amazing to watch these people finish. And I know it happens at every race. So it's truly those stories that, that make my job worthwhile. I love seeing it. I love hearing it. It's just inspiring. So that will never change.
It's awesome. And so you've met so many people through your travels, through your running, through the work that you do with magazine articles. If you could assemble the ultimate crew, who would it be, living or dead? And don't say living, but who would be on your crew? Could you handpick people that you've met over the years, like that would really help you, go from beginning to end, and that you'd be taken care of. It would just be a dream to run a race with.
That's a great question. I feel like I had my dream crew when I ran Western States in 2019, because I had paced Carl for 3 years previously. And so he came and crewed with his wife, and I had my coworker Corey and my running partner Glenn, and it was perfect. It was perfect. But let's see.
Elvis,
you caught me. You caught me. I have so many wonderful people in the sport. I've got an awesome coworker, Heather. She would be amazing. She's like the unicorn rainbows person, and she's got endless amounts of energy. So I would have Heather on my crew. Sorry, I'm not going to drop any like famous names that you guys might know. But yeah, it's hard because you see so much and so many amazing people, and crewing is not easy. It's very difficult. And so I don't want to put somebody in there that, doesn't want to be there or doesn't have the desire to stay out there 24 hours or however long it takes me to finish 100 miles. So it's definitely not 24 hours.
Amy, I got to ask you, has there ever been an article that's completely flopped, or you've gotten so much like grief email afterwards from the haters out there Or maybe not. I don't know. I was wondering.
I can't say that we've had an article that is completely flopped. We definitely hear back. Like there was a new columnist at the time who I won't mention the name, but there's people want to read about running, and that's what we try to continue to write about and keep in the magazine. They don't like the politics. They don't like anything beyond running. And so we try to keep it at just running. So
that's good. Stay in our lanes. Last thing we want to do is worry about politics on the trail. That's for sure. We hear about that all the time.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
Lord.
Well, that's kind of ironic, right, Todd? Because like if you think about it, like one of the first podcasts that we had that wasn't entirely running related got a little bit of interest from maybe folks that are a little more willing to give commentary that isn't really positive. so it's like, okay, maybe that was it, but it's also given a lot of exposure, and we're open to both sides of it. I mean, if anything, it's great that people are actually paying attention long enough to give us an insult or two. I mean, it's great. So
it's fun getting the hate mail. It's fun.
You live and learn.
Yes. Yeah. You live and learn. Absolutely. No, but that's what it is. It's you got to know your viewers, you got to know your audience. But at the same time too, like I always get the feeling, the vibe from the UltraRunning Magazine is that this is articles and information that you guys all love, both men and women, are putting it out there in the universe. And if people like it, they like it. If they don't, they don't. But people like it because it's what you're putting out there. It interests you. It's these articles that you would read, that you'd go seek out, and that's what I find in the magazine as well. And I also like the race results and all that stuff. And I would think that had to be the hardest stuff to do back in the day, of like trying to like get all the printouts of race results. And I'm sure people would have called and said, I finished 47th, not 48th. Anything like that ever? Like where you get some grief that if you list somebody in the wrong order? I don't know.
All the time. All the time.
I knew it.
No,
love it.
Like I don't want my race results here. This is what I finished. I mean, people, and rightly so, they don't want their name in the wrong spot or the wrong time. So I get it. Yeah.
It's not like Amy's intentionally doing this, folks. Like she's not like
she's just getting the info and publishing it, right?
Right.
So Amy, what do you have going on over the next little bit? Anything you're looking forward to? With summer approaching, any kind of events or just any kind of milestones ahead of you that you're just gearing towards for 2025?
We are working right now on our trails issue, so it'll be the June-July issue, and once that is published or printed, it'll come directly to the start line of Western States. Well, we'll get issues for each of the runners, and then we'll be there. So we have a small crew going to Western States, as we always do. So we'll be there for the race. And then it's kind of still my schedule. I mean, it's April, so my schedule's kind of still open for the summer. I'm not totally, I was going to go to Hard Rock this year, but I have a feeling that may not be the case because it's always in conflict with a annual trip I do over to Colorado. So, but not Hard Rock, different trip. So, anyway, so we'll see. Western States is always an amazing time for all of us just because we get to reconnect with people that we don't see very often. So yeah, that's what I'm looking forward to. I'm also going to be at Waldo 100K, which is in August, and it's just about an hour south of where I live in Bend. So, and that's Craig Thornley's race as well. He race directs Western States, and he also race directs Waldo. So
nice. Sounds like a good summer. Looking ahead, a lot of good things ahead for you. That's great.
Hopefully.
Amy, with all the races that you've covered over the years and UltraRunning Magazine has covered, any recommendations for Mark here to get his first race? And, I've been taking a lot of slack because everyone thinks I'm pressuring Mark to run a race. I'm just trying to say you got to get the aid stations, Mark. They're fun, or at least volunteer at a run. But like, what would be the best like entry level race for Mark to catch the trail running bug that you've come across?
Based on aid station alone. I'm just
Based
kidding.
on-
No, sorry. Just we can add that afterwards.
Well, Mark, so are you looking for just a 50K?
Yeah, just to
Yes, he is.
Easy 50K.
Just an easy 50, Mark.
Oh, what do you, okay, narrow it down for me. What do you prefer as far as like terrain goes?
Amy, I am very, very new to a lot of this. So terrain, we live in a very flat community. So I would say anything that is just, give me some hills.
You
Give
want some
me,
hills. Okay, Mark wants hills.
You know what?
You live in flat, but you want hills.
Yeah, I think I need something different. I want a different flavor. So
we got to get him out of the graveyard. He runs in a graveyard every morning. And it's you got to get out of this graveyard.
So I want a high level of difficulty, a lot of hills, maybe some streams I have to get kind of wet in because just to kind of ward off the blisters afterwards from like, so just the most difficult 50K that you could throw at me. That's really what I'm looking for.
The most difficult 50K.
Oh, Mark, I'm not going to do that to you. I don't want to.
You'll never run again, Mark.
Yeah, exactly. You'll just suffer the whole time.
Okay, fine. Okay, so for somebody who it's their first 50K.
Okay. Well, okay.
That's from Flat Train.
Yeah. So I was going to recommend the Vermont 50, but that's, I think, 50 miles.
Yeah.
But maybe Mark, we could convince him that mile and the kilometer is the same. Mark, it's the same. Don't worry, 50 miles. Don't worry, you got it.
Sure.
I've heard about the Vermont 50.
They have great aid stations. They have amazing people there. I know the Vermont community, just amazing over there. And then I'm just trying to think on your side of the continent.
Okay.
So
yep, and then the best kind of like after party too.
Oh, okay. Best after party. I'm not as experienced with after parties, so I apologize. But I do recommend the Midwest has some really amazing races, and I would direct you to any of Steve Durbin's races because there's that's a road. Sorry, you again put me on the spot here, but I know that the Midwest has an amazing ultra running community. So Ohio, Illinois, Wisconsin, there are just some really amazing. I can send you some later if you really want. That's
excellent. And Ohio is just on the other side of Lake Erie from us, so there you go. It's stone's throw away.
Yeah, I would say in Ontario, there are some trail running races up towards the Toronto area. And there's a really famous one north of Toronto, the Halliburton 50 or the Halliburton 100. Okay. I've signed up for it a few years, and I've always found an excuse not to go because it's too far. I got some other thing I'm doing. But yeah,
how close is Pennsylvania?
It's not that far. Probably 3.5 hours because you just got to go around the lake and into Pittsburgh.
There is one called it's Laurel Highlands, and it's always been a classic 70-mile race, but they have a 50K now, I believe. So I'm going to give you that one.
Okay.
There you go.
Appreciate that. Thank you.
Laurel Highlands.
I'll look into it.
Okay.
Nowadays, Amy, what does running look like? How much do you get to run? Do you wish you could run more or less? What's it look like?
That's a good question. Yeah, because it's evolved. I have 2 teenagers now. And one actually likes to run with me. So I go running with her.
We got to get the secret because I'm trying to get my teenagers to run with me. No dice. There's no way. I try to be nice. Well, I'm nice.
Yeah. She just caught the bug. She just likes to run outside. And so I've been running with her, run with friends, still run on trails. Just the training has not been I run consistently still. I just haven't been training lately. And I just find that to be kind of a life, bump in the road in life. And it's definitely hard because I do want to run more and I do want to train more. But I kind of have to kind of give in and be like, okay, this just isn't the time. So So yeah, that's what it's like. I still love it. You know, it's always harder when you're not running a lot. Well, it's harder in ways because you're not running a lot more, but it's still great. Still absolutely love it. So
That's right. You got to fit it into your life. You can't always have your life around your running. Like us, like I like to, maybe if I can put in a 45-minute run every day, it's fantastic. And that gets me to finish a finish line happy, most of the time healthy, smiling. I'm not setting any speed records, but when you kind of transition away from that, you're like, it's just time. Enjoy it. Enjoy the process. Don't stress too much about it. That's the best advice, is just fit it into whatever you have and what you can do.
That's right. And Todd's very fortunate to have a provincial park directly across the street from where he lives. So,
nice.
being able to run out there and just be in nature and that, I mean, I have to run around dead people, but it's, it's a close second. It's not too bad. So I was
It's nice and quiet, right?
always quiet. Yeah. A lot
Let's
of
hope
east,
it's
though,
quiet.
too.
Otherwise, you're in trouble.
Yeah. And so I was going to ask you though. So you mentioned that your daughter is into, is your running buddy right now, right? So is there a small part of you that kind of hopes that, one day she qualifies for Boston as well, and then you have 3 generations of
Oh yeah,
Boston
of course.
marathoners?
That's always like ideal, but
Without
I'm
the
not
pressure,
gonna.
obviously, but
I don't force someone. She was actually like, "Mom, I just want to go run in the woods." So I'm like, "Well, we'll see if there's a Boston qualifier because I don't know if that's ever running on the roads has been not our standard run. So we'll see. I feel like we could probably get her there at some point, but it'd be great. It'd be awesome.
Well, Amy, we can't thank you enough for joining us on the Renegade.
Yeah.
And we thank you and the entire team at UltraRunning Magazine for putting the effort, the work together. It is well deserved. We're well deserved for us to read it and enjoy it, because we do know it takes a lot of work to put this together. And we just want to thank everybody for doing this and for finding that passion, the passion project. And I know it can't be easy with the cost of everything increasing, paper, you name it in the world, everything's getting more expensive, but you're able to put together great issues with amazing articles, and we thank you.
Well, thank you guys for having me. It's been an honor, and I am so grateful that, people are still loving the magazine and enjoying every issue, and because we do work hard and we try to make it fun, and we try to make it interesting, and bring everybody the world of ultra running that's not on a screen. So yeah.
Excellent.
Thank you guys.
Thank you for listening to the Renegade Podcast, and we'd love to hear from you. Send us a note, runegadepodcast@gmail.com. That's RUNEGADE podcast@gmail.com. And we'd appreciate a like and a subscribe. You can check out our YouTube channel, and you can follow us on Spotify and on Apple Podcasts. And remember, in a world of runners, be a renegade.